All right. Good morning. That's right. We got a win already, and I mean, it's the thing that happened. It's the news. It's what we're going to talk about this morning. This might actually be a slow show morning because let's be real. Trump winning isn't all that exciting because nobody's surprised by it. It's the thing we expected. It's not an upset or a turnaround or it's the thing shocking. It's not a revelation. It's not an upset or we're going to take a look at it. We're going to take a look at some articles and kind of what this means for the future of the party and the future of the country moving into the general election. Which this means for the future of the party. Right now, I mean, moving into the general election. There's a lot of speculation to cover. Let's dig into this. Right now, I mean. There's a lot of speculation to cover. Let's dig into this. Now, I mean, there's a lot of speculation to cover. Good morning, everybody. I do know why, and I can fix that right now. Okay, so I apologize for anybody that was aggravated by the flipping echo going on there. I know what happened. I was watching some videos on Rumble, and I forgot to turn the sound off. Rumble does that. YouTube doesn't. Anyway, so, to no one's surprise, the Donald has won the Iowa caucuses. This is the first contest. The Iowa caucuses were yesterday, and the only thing that actually surprised me coming out of that is I wasn't expecting Vivek to go ahead and drop out of the campaign afterward. It makes sense. It's a reasonable maneuver. Much like, I mean, Vivek is a lot like Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley in this way. He doesn't have a chance moving forward. nobody's surprised that Donald won last night. And he won by something 51%. We'll look at the Time article on this just because. Actually, yeah, we're gonna look at the Time article on this, but I want to show y'all something. This is even looking at it with I'm using DuckDuckGo instead of Google to look for these, right? And I just want to show y'all this real quick. So, Donald Trump wins Iowa caucuses, NPR, Time, CBS, right? Projects 538, CNN, Ballotopedia, NBC, Vox, The Guardian, PBS, ABC News. Anybody sensing a trend here? Anybody sensing a trend? So all the articles that come up when you search the internet for articles, they're all left-wing news, left-wing outlets. And the only reason they're reporting positively on Donald Trump at this point, I can't wait to see what Time has to say about what this means. But the only reason they're reporting on it is because it's a national news kind of thing where they just cannot help but do. But y'all understand, just a couple of days ago, there was another attack on the White House. And I'm not talking about a January 6th type of thing where some political protesters went and attempted to petition their government for redress of grievances while lawfully and peaceably assembled in front of the Capitol building. No. This was a group of far-left, pro-Hamas activists, a large group of them, trying to smash down fences, throwing rocks and projectiles over the fences. This was not orderly people being escorted through the velvet ropes inside the Capitol building. This was violent Hamas sympathizers and probably active members, because we know that with the porous border, the Biden administration's porous border, Danny points out they had to evacuate the president, not dissimilar to the May 29th insurrection where the same people firebombed the White House and the church across the street, forcing President Trump to be evacuated to the bunker for safety. But y'all didn't hear that in the news. Y'all didn't see any headlines in the New York Times or Time Magazine or ABC or NBC or MSNBC or CPP, CNN. They didn't report on that. But this, they cannot help but do. Des Moines, Iowa. Former President Donald Trump scored a record-setting win in the Iowa caucuses on Monday, with his rivals languishing far behind a victory that affirmed his grip on the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. That right there. Former President Donald Trump. Let's see. Barack Obama was in the news recently. Let's just find an article about Barack Hussein Obama. See, the White House. No, that's not good. Oh, actually, yeah, there we go. The White House. Barack Obama. Barack Obama served. The biography for President Obama and past presidents is courtesy of the White House Historical Association. The biography for President Obama. Isn't that interesting? Let's see. What if we go to the article about Donald Trump on the same website? This should be interesting. Okay, in this one it says the biography for President Trump and past presidents, right? And that's the White House website. But the point here is clear. The tradition has always been that once you're a president, you're referred to as President whatever. President Clinton, President Bush, President Reagan, President Kennedy, right? Nobody said former president until Donald Trump had an election stolen from him. So let's go back to Obama. No, this is another biography thing. I'm looking for an article. Oh, amusingly, it looks like everybody just refers to him as Barack Obama. They don't even... Oh, there you go. U.S. News. Seems like old times. Joe Biden, Barack Obama touting affordable health care. Okay. I seem to have been defeated on that one. But I mean, you guys remember this. We've always just called him president. Anyway, that's a rabbit hole that I don't need to spend any more time on, and I apologize for wasting as much as we did. In what was the lowest turnout caucus in a quarter century, because y'all, I don't know if you've been watching the news, but it's cold in Iowa right now. They just happen to have a flippin' blizzard smash into them at the same time that the primary is going on. Participants endured life-threatening cold and dangerous driving conditions. To meet in hundreds of schools and community centers across the state, but those who ventured out delivered a roughly 30-point win for Trump that smashed the record for a contested Iowa Republican caucus, with a margin of victory exceeding Bob Dole's nearly 13 percentage point victory in 1988. DeSantis finishes a distant second, just ahead of former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. So, understand this. The Iowa caucuses are not typically necessarily indicative of the path going forward, right? In fact, the winner of the last, I think, 3 or 4 Iowa presidential Republican Iowa caucuses did not go on to be the nominee. Now, in each of those cases, they were narrow victories. Right? It even mentions Bob Dole with a 13% lead in Iowa. But this year, we've got a slightly different situation going on, and that is that the momentum coming out of Iowa, hell, the momentum going into Iowa for Trump, and him coming out with a 30-point lead is sending a very clear message. And it's not a message that we're surprised to be hearing. Donald Trump is not the clear favorite to win just the Republican primary. Donald Trump is the clear favorite by a margin wider than Joe Biden's fabricated victory to win the general election. Now that this primary is over, however, it opens up some things it opens up some options for the Democrats. You would not be in limited company if you were under the impression that the Democrat Party does not want Joe Biden to be their actual candidate this year. They can't afford it. Biden cannot win this. Now, forget about election tampering, forget about fraudulent electioneering, forget about all the lawfare and shenanigans that are going on. I'm talking about in a straight up contest, in an actual election, right? Let's pretend for a moment that we still have those. Joe Biden cannot beat Donald Trump in the general election, in an actual election this year. Because Trump has a record to run on, Biden has a record to run on. Right? When Trump beat Hillary, Trump did not have a political record to run on. The records are clear. Trump is cheap gas, world peace, American prosperity. Rising wages, record low unemployment in every demographic except for white males, surprisingly. Trump's record is unimpeachable. Biden's record is incontrovertibly high gas prices, rising cost of living, rising energy costs, right? Your heating bill went up and you noticed it. Your rent went up and you noticed it. Not to mention the beginning of World War III. And when we say World War III, Tim Pool talked about this the other day, and he did a very good job of explaining it, because, and I want to kind of ape off what he was talking about there. Understanding what a world war looks like, what a world war is, definitionally. We're talking about one more like World War I than World War II. So World War II, you're basically looking at two factions. You got the Axis and the Allies, right? And basically every significant country has chosen one of those two sides. That's not what World War III looks like. That's not what it's going to look like. World War III is going to be war everywhere. It won't be all the commies versus all the capitalists. It'll be, there's a war in Venezuela, there's a war between China and Taiwan, there's a war, Ukraine and Russia. The Middle East has war going on. Iraq and Iran just traded some missiles. Houthi pirates are throwing bombs and missiles at American warships and cargo containers. That's not prediction or speculation, by the way. That's a thing that happened. The Houthi pirates are straight up bombing U.S. ships, and that's a thing that's happening right now with no apparent reaction yet. And the U.S., because we are the global hegemon, will be involved in every one of those conflicts. Is already involved in every one of those conflicts. Right, even China, the China-Taiwan situation, which is not actively in a hot war state at the moment, is so close to the edge of being in such a hot war state that the U.S. politic is already involved, already preparing to deal with that situation. At a time when the DEI cult, the cult of DI, diversity, inclusion, and equity, at a time when the cult of DI has gutted our military strength to nearly unbefore-seen lows, and we're missing our recruiting numbers by the tens of thousands across all sister branches, we're about to, because of the policies and foreign relations and corruption of Joe Biden, we're about to be engaged in a world war. And it will be worse for the U.S. than was World War II. Because, like I said, it's not two factions. You know, good versus evil, Axis versus allies, however you want to see that. It's dozens of wars. And a Joe Biden is going to have us involved in every single one of them. Right? A President Donald Trump, you're going to be looking at peace talks. You're going to be looking at Moabs where peace talks break down. We don't have to speculate. We've seen him do it. Right? You're going to be looking at border shutdown, mass deportation. These are necessary things. What we're looking at with the Democrats in charge across the country right now is mass illegal immigration, taxpayer-funded distribution of criminal aliens, right? Make no mistake, we are in the midst of a hostile foreign invasion that is not only being funded with your tax dollars, but supported, actively supported by federal law enforcement working overtly to prevent the law from being enforced by state and local municipal law enforcement agencies. That is a thing that's happening, especially in Texas. The Biden administration is sending federal law enforcement agents to prevent state border patrol agents from preventing illegal activity. They're actively supporting, facilitating, and funding the hostile foreign invasion that's coming across the border as we speak. Now, I rather like the current Trump legal theory that a president is immune from prosecution in the conduct of his official duties. That's an important statement, and it's an important distinctive statement, because the argument is if the president wants to order the assassination, the way it's being framed by the lefties, the lawyer was asked if the president orders the assassination of a political rival, can he be prosecuted for that? And the legal theory says no. Here's why that's correct. Because it presupposes that the authority of the legislature, of the Congress, to impeach a president is paramount as a check and balance. And it removes from the president the obstacle of being concerned that some random municipal agent will act outside of their authority and attempt to use lawfare, like, for example, a Secretary of State or a state Supreme Court unilaterally removing a candidate from a ballot. It presupposes that those smaller municipal authorities cannot just say, you know what, we feel like arresting the president. Go back to Barack Obama. And I'm not defending what Obama did, but I will defend his legal authority to have done it and the process which should have been engaged. Right? Obama ordered the assassination of an American citizen on foreign soil. Drone strike. Now, I would love to see Obama prosecuted and incarcerated and maybe even executed for that crime. But first must be answered the question of whether or not the order was legitimate within the confines of the constitutional authority of the presidency. And that is a question that is best answered by the impeachment process. That statement is less true than I would prefer it to be because of the rampant and gross politicization of the impeachment process by the Democrat Party with the two impeachments of Donald Trump, which were not only blatantly political, but now undeniably fabricated. I mean, based completely on a hoax, on a pair of hoaxes, rather. But the idea is that Donald Trump, as a result of this legal theory, which is not a novel, it's being referred to as a novel legal theory. It's fucking not. I mean, we're talking about the first, Article 1. Right? The president's, the the law for dealing with the president breaking the law is the impeachment process. He is distinctly separated from the normal course of the conduct of law because he is the chief of law enforcement. And part of that law, and he's the chief of law enforcement, he's the chief diplomat, and he's the commander-in-chief of military forces, right? Without being somehow distinct from the normal, ordinary civilian law, how is a commander-in-chief of the military armed forces supposed to order military actions which will result in the loss of lives? So that's a lot of tangent, and I'm tempted to go down the trail of talking about the Fannie Willis thing going on, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap on this. The GOP contest moves swiftly to New Hampshire, which will hold the first in the nation primary on January 23rd. A shrinking field. Now it says first in the nation primary. Just to clarify, a primary and a caucus are not the same. Caucuses are different everywhere that there's a caucus. Primaries are a little more similar to one another from state to state than caucuses are. Some caucuses are blind ballots, some caucuses are secret ballots, some caucuses are public ballot, some caucuses are one big convention hall, some caucuses, like the Iowa caucus, is spread out over dozens and dozens of places, et cetera, et cetera. The primary, see what I did there? But the key, the most important distinction between the caucus process of selecting a candidate and the primary process of selecting a candidate is the primary is controlled by the government of the state, just like any other election. A primary is an election, but it's an election for one party to elect the candidate that will be their candidate going into the general, where a caucus is a private operation. So the GOP and the DNC are both private entities. They're private businesses. They are not government entities. They're private political entities. So if they have a caucus, if the party has a caucus, that's how they choose within that state who the party will support, who the electors of the state will support, right? If the party has a primary, then that's how they do it. This hasn't really been important until this year. We saw with, it's Colorado, right? Yeah, Colorado. The judges in Colorado removed Donald Trump from the ballot because Colorado has a primary. And the state GOP replied by saying, okay, fine. If you think you can remove our candidate from the ballot, if you think you have the authority to do that within the context of your state government-controlled primary process, well, fuck you. We just won't have a primary. We'll do a caucus instead. We'll step back and we'll do the private caucus, and that's how we will select our candidate. And let me tell you something. Now, he's back on. That's been dealt with now, as I understand it. I'll get more detail on that soon. But let me ask you this. If you're in Colorado, a Republican in Colorado, which is a rare bird, by the way, because, they're one of the first states to legalize pot. So, of course, they went super left, super fast. Because there's one thing that's true about dope smokers and Democrats. It's the slow burnout of brain cells. But imagine you're a Republican in Colorado and you learn that, oh, we're having a caucus because our state tried to take away from us the right to vote. And make no mistake, they didn't try to take away from you the right to vote for Donald Trump. They declared unilaterally that they have the authority to remove from you the right to choose anyone that they wish to designate as undesirable. Because especially in the case of Donald Trump, they cited for their reason to remove him from the ballot, they cited to the 14th Amendment Section 3 that speaks about insurrectionists, and said that because Donald Trump is an insurrectionist, he can be disqualified from the ballot. Here's the thing. He has not been tried, convicted. He hasn't been indicted, let alone convicted, for the charge of insurrection. So for a person to say that Donald Trump is an insurrectionist or engaged in insurrection or was involved in insurrection, for a person to make that statement is 100% a matter of opinion. Now, because we maintain the presupposition of innocence, innocent until proven guilty, a person who makes the counterclaim that Donald Trump is not an insurrectionist is not stating mere opinion. They are stating the legal presumption of fact in the absence of conviction. So anybody who says insurrection when they're talking about January 6th, they're stating opinion. And what they're really doing is they're regurgitating the incorrect, provably false opinion of someone else. Yeah, Pitt Danny says the Colorado Supreme Court is 7 libs, 4 are totally insane. Yes, that's correct. There are 3 libs on the Supreme Court of Colorado that are not completely and entirely insane. They basically stuck to the hash brownies and they haven't gotten into the LSD yet. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and put a pin in it right there, because I do have work to do this morning. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.